Before I get into my review today for a film set in a video game themed world, I'll give you a little life hack from me to you. So while watching Free Guy, I drank copious amounts of Coca-Cola. Didn't help the fact there was lots of ice cubes within that beverage, and by the time this film finished, yes, I stuck around for the end credits to see if there's any post or end credit scenes. Zilch, nada, nothing. So I proceeded to go into the men's restroom, and there was an empty cubicle, which was a relief for me. And speaking of relief, when I got inside and locked the door, I do this trick where I just start to roll down lots of loo paper, and the person in the next cubicle obviously saw this or heard it. They walked out quickly, washed their hands really quickly, and left me alone in the restroom. Now, for the record, I was just there to do a number one, because like Finch in American Pie, I keep my number two business in-house. Now, I've got a funny feeling I've probably told you more than I should have, but hey, I don't care. It's a Friday night. There might be a full moon out, and it is Friday the 13th. And yes, here we go. It's going to be a goodie. So the premise is guys living inside a video game. It's a multiplayer online phenomenon called Free City, which is due to have a sequel called Free City 2, Let There Be Carnage, or something along those lines. What I will say took me out of the experience in the first half of this film is the environment of Free City itself. It's very barren, it's very threadbare. Now what they should have done was gone to Akihabara in Japan and used that environment for this film. It would have worked a lot better, because to me Akihabara is the real life version of Sunset Overdrive. And if you don't believe me, go and watch my video where I was in Japan in 2018. That'll probably spell it out to you how fantastic looking that city is. It really is quite incredible. Also, they keep reusing some of the same music in the early half of this film. The music actually drowns out the action that's going on. It's almost like it's compensating for the shortcomings of those action scenes. Now, the action scenes aren't anything new. We've seen this all before. We've all seen the hapless guy or girl in a situation that's beyond their means, and they just kind of cope with it as they do. I would say, like, maybe when he levels up later on and he has some really cool fights with some other characters, some other NPCs. I thought that was really good. In fact, the NPCs are also video game players in the real world who are playing these characters within this game. So it's one of those things, if you don't play video games, you might not understand the concept fully of what's actually going on in the virtual world as opposed to the real world. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the real world stuff, which for me was the most compelling part of the film. Now, I've heard some people complaining that, oh, when it gets to the game developer situation, it gets really boring. Actually, it doesn't, because it does a real piss take of the video game culture. Like, you've got Taika Waititi in one of his funniest roles ever as Antoine. So he's great. He's a real douchebaggy video game developer. I'm pretty sure they're riffing off well-known people, Activision, I'm talking to you, in the real world. So you have that. Now, Joe Carey plays Walter McKees, a video game developer who works for Tsunami, and he's really close chums with Millie Rusk, as played by Jodie Comer. Now, the thing I like about Jodie Comer, I like this version of her where she's playing plain old Millie. She's really cool. But when she becomes Molotov Girl within the game of Free City, it kind of, I don't know, she's got the American accent, she sounds okay, she's very capable, but I wasn't a big fan of Molotov Girl. I don't know what it is. She's almost like a Mary Sue in some way. She's just too perfect. Nothing ever goes wrong for her. I mean, that's obviously a character design by choice, and I get where they're going with it. But I will come back to that character later on, because something stuck out for me with her portrayal of Molotov Girl. So what I will say as well, that some of the highlights of this film for me were the human interactions, like Ryan Reynolds and Lil Ray Howery, who plays Buddy, the bank security guard. I love their chemistry. It was so good. It's so endearing. It was a bromance without being a proper bromance. No fist bumping. Now, Free Guy will invite inevitable comparisons to the magnum opus from Steven Spielberg called Ready Player One, which I absolutely adore. I think the set pieces were well better filmed and staged and choreographed, and visually it looked amazing. Unfortunately, I can't always say that about Free Guy. As I said before, some of the set pieces in the earlier part of the film were just really let down by shoddy choreography and everything else. Despite Ryan Reynolds giving it his best shot with every moment he had on screen, but I will say, all again, the human interaction was by far the more interesting aspect of this film. There was some reactions I talked about in an earlier video where people said the film takes a few chances and a few revelations are made. I only counted one revelation that came to light much later on. Is it jaw-dropping? Not for me, it wasn't, but I liked where they went with it. It made sense. I kind of appreciated what they were trying to do, just to give the story some brevity. I kind of dug that, and that was great. And yeah, there are some really cool Easter eggs in here. So I will say my favorite one, being a massive Halo fan, was seeing the Scorpion tank. I mean, you see it once and you see it twice, and the second time you see this beast, my god, when he just plows through Free City, it just looks the business. Like, wow. So talk about product placement. I mean, you also have like a Razer laptop, an Alienware laptop much later on. Like, people are obviously vying to be in this movie. The inclusion of the Twitch streamers and YouTubers as well. So you had Pokimane, who I just think is irritating beyond belief. Then you had Jacksepticeye, he was pretty funny, and Tyler Blevins, aka Ninja, he was pretty good. But why didn't they get Angry Joe, the Red Brain, or Ghost Robo? Those are my go-to guys when it comes to video game reviews, and maybe G-Man Lives, I like him as well. They could have had those guys too, but I don't. But the only reason why I think they couldn't get those people into their particular movies because the other folks I just mentioned all have representation. But the whole film, I think it really picks up in the third act. This is where it gets into the element of everything. The third act is where it all comes together. You find out what the purpose of Ryan Reynolds' character of Guy actually is, and I kind of liked where they went with that. By the way, before I actually discuss the third act, I'm a big fan of interiors, and like all the characters live in really spacious interior apartments. They look horrible on the outside, but on the inside they're absolutely beautiful. I love that. And some of Free City reminded me of the dilapidated landscape from Christopher Nolan's Inception. I kind of got flashbacks to that for some reason, and I haven't seen that film for ages, so it was kind of weird that I was getting that deja vu all over again. But yeah, the third act, it's goofy, it's inspired, it's brash, it's very silly. There is a boss fight in the end. Now, I wish it was Chris Hemsworth that was the actual baddie that Ryan Reynolds fights against. It's not. It takes a leaf out of Deadpool 2 for some strange reason why I say that. Well, you know why. Wait, if you've seen Deadpool 2, you know where I'm kind of going with this particular third act finale. There are two cameos that I counted. The second cameo is extremely inspired. I never expected this person to pop up in this film. Now, grant you, the third act has two IP placements, you know, right there. Like, you can't escape it. It's fan service for the sake of it, although in one of the instances, it might spell out the fact that Ryan Reynolds could actually be inaugurated into the MCU as Deadpool. Finally, we might have confirmation of that in the third act of this film. And I will say the third act is highly enjoyable. There are moments I've seen already that I want to upload like 17-second clips and put it onto my Instagram post because they will draw a lot of views. Now, with all that said and done, what is my final rating for Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds and Jodie Comer and Joe Carey, because he's a dreamboat, darlings? I'd easily give it a 4 out of 5 hot dogs. Now, before I sign off, I wanted to come back to Jodie Comer and Joe Carey very quickly. So Jodie Comer as Molotov Girl, quite a few times in the film, she's brandishing double guns. I immediately thought to myself, if they didn't go ahead with that 2018 Lara Croft movie with Alicia Vikander, they could have seen Jodie Comer in this role, and she's my perfect Lara Croft, easily. I mean, alright, Alicia Vikander's got a very long swan-like neck, which I kind of had to admit did distract me throughout that film. But Jodie Comer, she exudes Lara Croft all over the place. So maybe she'll get another action role in the future, who knows? If Marvel don't grab her first, maybe DC will. She can go to some darker lengths. She could be a great Catwoman, actually. Selena Kyle, Why not? I know she's already been played by Zoe Kravitz, but you could have her in a James Gunn future DC film. That could happen. Joe Keery. Okay, now after watching him in this film, I love him as Steve Harrington in Stranger Things. Honestly, you see season 1 of that, you really hate the character of Harrington. He's such a douche nozzle, but by seasons 2 and 3, like how they make him such a popular and lovable dude, it's like you gotta thank the Duffer Brothers, man, because they did such a great job with that character. But upon watching him in this, I gotta say now, look guys, just reboot Back to the Future, okay? Get Joe Keery in the Marty McFly role. He would be absolutely perfect. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tom Holland. Sorry, mate. I thought you could be a great Marty McFly. You probably still could be, but Steve Harrington, he's the one for me, man. He will be absolutely perfect. I can see him on a skateboard right now. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my video today for Free Guy on your local theatres and maybe nationwide across the UK and wherever you are in the world. If you like this video today, please give it a like, destroy that subscribe button, and I will see you on my next video.